The false widow spider, often mistakenly feared as its more infamous cousin, the black widow, is a fascinating creature whose temperament has been the subject of debate and study. Known scientifically as Steatoda, the false widow belongs to the same family, Theridiidae, as the true widow spiders, but is generally far less dangerous. Despite its sinister reputation in popular media, the temperament of the false widow is not as aggressive or threatening as one might assume. Understanding its behavior, natural instincts, and how it interacts with its environment reveals a more balanced picture of this misunderstood arachnid. False widows are primarily shy and reclusive. Their natural instinct is not to attack, but to avoid confrontation whenever possible. Unlike aggressive predators that actively seek out conflict, false widows spend most of their lives hidden in webs they have constructed in undisturbed corners, crevices, sheds, or even outdoor walls. Their temperament leans toward defensiveness rather than aggression, meaning they will only bite if provoked or threatened. In day-to-day activity, they prefer a calm, stable environment. They do not chase or harass larger animals or humans, and if approached, they are more likely to retreat deeper into their web than attempt to strike. One of the most important aspects of the false widow's temperament is its defensive nature. A false widow will typically remain still or flee if disturbed. Biting is usually a last resort, triggered only if the spider is physically handled, pressed against the skin, or unable to escape. Even when a bite does occur, it is rarely severe, often no worse than a bee's sting in intensity. This reserved temperament highlights the false widow's strategy for survival. As a relatively small creature, confronting large animals, including humans, would be futile. Instead, its instinct is to conserve energy and avoid unnecessary risks. Defensive around large creatures, the false widow is a confident and efficient predator when it comes to insects and other small invertebrates. Its temperament in hunting mode shifts to one of patience and precision. False widows are ambush predators, relying on their irregular tangled webs to trap prey. Once an insect is ensnared, the spider moves quickly, biting and injecting venom to subdue its meal. Their hunting temperament can be described as calculated and opportunistic. They do not expend unnecessary effort chasing prey, but instead rely on their webs and stealth. This calm, efficient approach makes them successful hunters without being outwardly aggressive. The false widow's temperament in relation to humans is frequently misunderstood. Due to its appearance, which resembles the notorious black widow, many people assume it is dangerous and aggressive. In reality, most false widows prefer to coexist quietly with humans. They often build webs in or near homes because such environments provide warmth, safety, and a steady supply of insects. Encounters with humans rarely escalate unless the spider is disturbed. If left alone, false widows pose no threat and may even benefit households by controlling insect populations. Their temperament in this context is reserved, cautious, and non-confrontational. The false widow category includes several species, such as Steatoda grossa and Steatoda nobilis. While all share a generally shy and defensive temperament, slight variations exist. For example, Steatoda grossa, sometimes called the cupboard spider, it is particularly docile and rarely seen outside of its web. Steatoda nobilis, the noble false widow, often the subject of sensational news headlines, is slightly bolder in behavior, though still not aggressive by nature. Even in the bolder species, temperament remains primarily defensive and cautious. One reason the temperament of false widows is often misrepresented is due to sensationalized media stories. Reports of bites are sometimes exaggerated, fueling the idea that these spiders are hostile. In reality, their temperament is closer to that of other common house spiders, timid, reclusive, and more interested in catching insects than confronting people. The temperament of the false widow is a mix of reclusiveness, defensiveness, and opportunistic hunting instincts. Far from being an aggressive menace, it is a quiet resident of corners and crevices, preferring to avoid conflict whenever possible. Its reserved personality allows it to thrive in human environments without posing significant danger. While its appearance may cause alarm, the false widow is better understood as a cautious and efficient insect hunter rather than a threat. By appreciating its true temperament, we can replace fear with respect for this fascinating spider and recognize its role in balancing ecosystems.